executive session, no votes taken, no decisions made.
And we are running a little late for the work session, but the special meeting is adjourned.
Money your way here. DJ.
Yeah, you can stand there.
He's gonna get what he gets.
I know.
Lee, are our presenters here?
They are not here this evening.
Are you gonna cover it? We can go ahead. All right.
Go ahead.
Get started, Lee.
So, Wes is just pulling up the slides for everybody's information. Again, this is a slideshow that you guys saw in the work session last month. Just a final pass to make sure that all council members are able to take a peek at it over the past month. Again, this is work that's been going on. You all signed back, it's been about close to 6 months ago. We've been in conversation with Raftellus, which is a sub that was actually brought in by JMT, who did our sewer rate system survey. 100% of the sewer system was surveyed. And came
Please,
back.
mic on. Is your mic on?
You hearing me?
Yeah.
Okay.
It's not October.
Maybe just project a little bit.
Sure, I'll try to speak up. So sewers, 100% of the sewer system for the first time in the city's history was surveyed. And they found that the system is actually fairly sound, so there's not any extreme capital needs that were identified during the study. So consequently, he's got a good cleaning schedule of several lines that are being overrun with some sand, go figure, and some construction debris that's been pre-existing. So they've identified those, and Phil has been able to target those in his future cleaning efforts with JIPSD, who we contract with to maintain our sewer lift stations and our sewer lines. Key takeaway points for the water system rate study. Again, they went through it meticulously, found that our previous rate study was good, but they made some additional tweaks to improve it. Wes, if you'll forward. Again, we covered all this. The basic increases to the water will be 6% for the next 5 years, and sewer at 3.5%. Sewer being lower because it's a smaller system, and also the capital needs are not as great as the water system. Go to the next slide, please. And next. So this is our existing water and sewer rate system costs. Again, we have a minimum charge to every customer for water and a minimum charge to sewer for every customer. And then it goes into your actual water usage in different varying blocks and escalating the scale. So the idea is to charge customers that have the heaviest usage on your system.
Were you able to find the answers to the questions I had?
Our rate consultants were supposed to come in and present tonight, so I'm actually standing in, and they actually came. We're supposed to come with that answer.
So the question I had, just so everybody knows, was, the last time we had this, I proposed that we raised the tier one, the minimum block, to bring everybody in that was average or below, and that if you were an average user, you never saw tier two, and that shaving those costs off for the average user would shift some of that burden to the higher tiers. In this proposal, while the rate changes very little, it does drop the minimum for tier one from 7,000 to 5,000.
Correct.
And I was concerned that that would put some of our average users into tier two. And that's a 28% decrease in volume from 7,000 to 5,000, and then hitting the higher tier two. And so I asked what the average user was. If it was below 5,000, then our average user never hits tier two. And,
In our discussions, so Phil and I have spent about 10 hours combined over the course of 6 months with the great consultants on different calls and workshops. My understanding is that the 5,000 was capturing the lion's share of your average users. Yes, you're gonna have a few outliers, but 5,000 will not capture a large percentage of the average,
Sure, right.
single-family home user.
I'd like to know at what level is the average? And I know those, bell curve will always be people below average and all, but I just think tier two shouldn't start until you're an above average user. And so I asked those questions and I guess you thought I'd have those answers too, so.
Answers too. And you had one other question, I believe, it was something along the lines of.
Yeah, if everybody else's tier, he had a comparison, or they had a comparison between our island and other islands and other municipalities, and it showed our rates were comparable, but it didn't show where the tier breaks were. And I was interested if everybody else breaks that tier at 5,000, or if some of them are higher or lower.
So there's a slide in your deck, but again, it doesn't address that exact question, but it does give you a comparative at the average 5,000 gallon user for neighboring municipalities, to give you an idea.
Right.
West, oh, another key thing was the transitioning of our quarterly customers to monthly. This will standardize across the system. This was a recommendation by the consultants, to standardize our billing across the system to a monthly system. For a couple of different reasons. Big one being that quarterly, we found that identification of water leaks, things like that, don't become apparent after 4 months of situation. It turns into a bigger problem than it should be. If you had a monthly billing system, you'd have your hands.
Words in the well, like this other.
You'd be able to consult and handle and help that customer more timely. And it also breaks it up and it offers more touch points with all other customers, which is important. Again, it just standardizes everything, makes it clean. We set up our billing system in such a way that it won't be an additional burden to our staff. So we thought it perfect. Next slide, please. Here is the proposed water rate schedule. So as you can see, as we discussed, the volumetric rates, the double star there, that drops from 7,000 to 5,000 gallons in that water tier. I'll also point your attention towards the irrigation. For the first time, we will have a differential in irrigation usage. The idea being this is an additional kind of optional burden to the system. So customers that use irrigation will have a graduated system where you can see a projected FY '28, FY '29, where that will consolidate down to basically tier 3 and tier 4, instead of having varied tier usage for irrigation users. In addition,
Run that by me again?
so if under irrigation at the very bottom there, you see how we have tier 1 through 4.
Right.
You see how it consolidates in FY '28 and FY '29, where you actually only have essentially 2 tiers, because 1 through 3 are all the same, and then it's 1, 2, and 1 feet away. So basically creates just a tier 3 and tier 4 for irrigation specifically.
But it's still regular water.
It is.
It's just
regular water.
metered separately.
It's just metered separately. Yes, sir.
But it's not non-potable water or whatever.
Correct. It comes out of the same. Also, in addition to that, as part of the recommendation, the minimum charges, depending on what your meter service sizes, diameter sizes also changes. It used to be standardized across the board, everybody got the same charge, regardless if you had a 3/4 meter or a 6-inch meter, which was completely out of the norm. I said, no, that's not normal. We need to make sure that we address, again, the burden of the system, not only just in your volumetric charges, but also in your meter size minimum charges. So that's where you see that addressed as well. Don't want to move too fast. If anybody had any questions, I'll move to the sewer.
How many 6-inch meters are
Yeah,
there?
who's likely to have a 6-inch?
So I believe there's one at the hotel, right? You've got one of those, and I think there's a master meter that's that size that feeds certain condominium complexes that the city charges a master meter charge for. Wow. Yeah. But again, it's a burden on the system that's always been there, that's never been properly addressed in our pricing structure. Sewer rates, very simplistic here. You have a straight all users, but because again, if you're not familiar, our billing structure is based on, actually, the usage is actually based on the water meter, right? So what goes in must come out. If you are on a sewer line, that's how you're charged, basically the usage that comes from the water, with the exception of irrigation meters, because irrigation meters are separate meters that are not charged sewer rates because they don't go to the sewer, they go into the ground.
But again, properties on septic are excluded from this.
Correct. You also notice the FOG program, which is the Fats, Oils, and Greases program. That's something that's new that was pushed onto us by JFPSD because they're trying to comply with certain laws. In order to be compliant with that, Phil's got to have additional infrastructure. I'm not totally ready to know all of it, but they did also factor that into their proposed sewer rate structure. 3% increase in FY '27, 1% thereafter. And again, we kind of keep pace with JFPSD as they have their rate increases, we have to match that. So that's part of this. And there is your combined monthly bills. I asked them to create kind of a comparative to see so council could see very plainly, if you had a 3/4 meter versus a 2-inch meter, what the bill would look like difference based on your new rate structure. And again, the effective date for this new rate structure is set to be for July the 1st. So basically, any bill that goes out the door after July 1 will be in effect of this new rate structure.
So increases from Charleston's water or James Island, are they, do we kind of estimate what they would be in this, or do they get layered on top of this?
So these are actually baked in. So I gave them a mass amount of data. I gave them historical data, I gave them all everything I could give them to give them, if I didn't already have it, JFPSD, they already had it. They already did a read study. They know what they're gonna charge us for the next 3 years out. So they had that data, and then they just projected it. Charleston Water System, I gave them about 5 or 6 years worth of back data to show the rate increases and when, and they built that in. And they basically modeled that. They're very sophisticated model, and just basically map it right into the rate structure. So we're ready to go. Unless there's something super abnormal, we should be automatic for the next 5 years.
On the residential community that is on sewer right now, and new houses that are going in those areas that are tapping into that sewer,
Yes, sir.
what size pipes are they using? What are their meters?
So they have options. They can choose a 3/4 meter, they can choose a 1-inch meter. Those are your general residential options. I'm not aware of anybody going 2 inches, because that's when you start getting into more of a multi-family, complex kind of situations, but it's generally the 3/4 or 1-inch.
And Phil knows which ones are which, right?
Oh, yes, it's all within our system, and part of this process has been very enlightening for Phil, is because he's been able to really dig into the system, and they've seen anomalies, and they've asked him questions, and he's done some investigating. To that question, Wes, if you go to that slide, here's your typical residential 3/4 meter customer projection chart, just so you have that. Next slide. Bill comparison, as we've mentioned, with the different, each municipality kind of locally. You can see the water bill and adding the sewer bill. Folly is up there, but you have to remember Folly's at the end of the line. So we get all the upcharges all the way to this point. Point of creation to termination, or sending it back, so. Next up. Upfront fees, this is where, Councilman Fink, we talk about, the assessment also looked at our current upfront fees, or tap and impact for new services. We had been grossly undercharging people for new tap and impact fees. So if you go to the next slide, they did a calculation, basically kind of calibrating an ERU, or equivalent residential unit through that common vernacular. Basically, it's just a way of normalizing the size of usage that we should be charging for a new tap impact service, whether it be for typically ERUs in our world would be for sewer particularly. Next slide, please.
While we're on that, and you mentioned ERUs, explain how businesses fall into that, because I know we use about ERUs because it's a simple process for you guys, but it is, I know what I write checks for, and it's a lot, a small place. And you keep passing these rate increases, and those are the type of things that'll accrue people, and I think it's something that residents don't realize. It's great on the residential side, it's fine, but when you're saying that places are, like 30 ERUs, that's 30 residential houses. I'm not doing that. Can you get into that a little bit, please?
So the city should be periodically, I don't know about every year, but I know in the past we've done at least 2 surveys, but it's based on seating capacity, right? So we've had a lot of small businesses that started out with footprint of this, indoor seating, or, just had a bar, a couple of booths or whatever, and now they've created an additional seating space, an outdoor patio and all that. So they actually have to rate their seats, because the philosophy is, you got more seats, you got more people, you got more sewer use in that particular establishment. That, in a nutshell, is how.
Right, and when we're talking about these rate increases and these studies and proposed, tables of raising rates, is there any thought into changing that process? Because let's just say I've got 60 chairs. Well, for half the year, they're full, and then half the year, they're not. You don't care. You don't care. Let's just face it, you don't care. But I'm paying for it no matter what. And it's a huge chunk of overage, essentially. We're being overcharged for what we're actually going through. So the process is not fair for your businesses as much as it is, for the residents. It's fine. I think it is. It's really kind of low, but for us, we kind of take it on the chin with some of that.
I mean, it's boom or bust, feast or famine as far as, and we try to also kind of think about not only, another argument we went back and forth with consultants was, you do have certain homes that are, the usage goes astronomical in the summertime, and then it goes dormant in the wintertime. And how do you allocate that stress on the system and allocate appropriate use? It's, you start wading into that, it really gets nuanced. With businesses, if you're it is kind of fixed that way, the way we've got our ordinance written, and that's how ERUs work, right? So it would be an ordinance amendment for us to adapt that.
When you're talking to these rate consultants and everything, if they have any ideas on how to just make it fair. I'm not saying that, I'm trying to get away with it. We can't keep taking it on the chin like that. If there's a fair process out there, we should evaluate that. Because I know that we're overpaid compared to everybody else. So how can we find a fair process for that? Because we keep raising rates, and even for residents, we raise water and sewer all the time. And there's just, you gotta be careful doing that. I get where the end of the line. I know all that. I get it. But, we gotta find a fair way to do it for everybody.
And you also,
I'm sorry, but just so that I'm clear, are we saying that the rates for businesses are based on capacity of the establishment?
seating capacity.
That's what I'm saying, the capacity. That's the only way that the city can determine the rates, is capacity.
ERU is estimated residential unit. So
I
one of my
get that.
seats is like a house.
I got
That's
you,
not
that's,
it. It's
I
not-
know what, I got the ERU.
Yeah.
And that's why I'm saying that we're actually using a different methodology to determine businesses. That's all I needed to know for future reference.
But I think what he's saying too is we do have the capability of looking at that. So I think we could go back to the group and definitely.
So I've been asking this for years and we haven't done anything, and I'm asking again. you know, cause you're talking about all these proposed, and then sewer increases look pretty healthy on there, and I get it, but we've gotta find a fair way to do it for these guys, and I'm begging you at this point, please ask them and look into it. We can't keep taking it on the chin like that.
And also that fats, oils, and grease program was another one that we kind of talked about. It's like, all right, who's the primary?
Or something else that we have to take, you know, once again,
That was the James Island.
but once again, it's just, you know, it's only affected in a very egregious manner. It's like, we gotta find something that's just fair. That's all I'm asking for, is just something fair.
It's one of those where the city's kind of caught with, you gotta maintain the infrastructure. The infrastructure's gotta be there. It's gotta be there for the summer rush.
You build for the biggest usage.
And this has come up at bad meetings in the past. It's just
You know, over the last 20 years, it's come up all over the place.
So, and there's some kind of an impartial process to compare it to other municipalities as well, to make sure businesses aren't unfairly impugned.
Let's,
I mean, it just needs to be due process.
I'd at least like to see some different options and ideas. There's nothing that has not changed at all. And I mean, I'm the only one, I'll beat my head against the wall on it. I'm asking for different options and ideas. We gotta come up with something soon. Cause you're gonna have a lot of angry people here
while we're
soon.
engaged with this company, let's talk to them.
Please.
So here is the new, proposed tap fees. Again, these are one-time costs, that have greatly increased, right? So, but again, we're actually on the low side as compared to some of our counterparts, locally. So 3/4 through greater than 1 inch. And then sewer got a little difficult to kind of assess because, you have customers that attack it two ways. I wanna do the whole process and you come out and inspect it, and so everything's good, and then I'll pay my inspection fee. Or I have no idea what I'm doing, I need a professional city staff to handle and manage this whole process from beginning to end and certify it. So we have to just be able to respond accordingly, so that's. Next slide. And there's your comparative of existing and proposed. Next slide. Here's a kind of comparative, just so you can see where we were, or where we currently are now. And again, all these have been mentioned before. Appreciate it. It's been about 5 months, 6 months worth of work that these guys have put in, and we have a pretty good product that'll keep the city's water and sewer fund solvent and addressing capital needs in the future. Appreciate all.
How you doing?
Will you let me know when they answer you?
Yes, sir.
Is there any action?
So there is action, proposed tonight on this. There's two ordinances and a resolution. Two ordinances would remove the fixed fee references from the ordinance. So right now, we say the fee is X, and so it would just change, the fee is as approved by council by resolution, to allow you guys to set these things by resolution in the future, rather than amending the ordinance. But the resolution to adopt these rates is in the agenda tonight as the final item of business for the meeting. So there is an action item tonight related to the rates, and that's to adopt these rates tonight. Alright, so next up, we have surf lesson student waivers. And we did talk about this in executive session to review, this is related to contracts. We have several contracts on the agenda tonight for non-franchise surf lessons, which are annual surf lesson approvals that council awards. And we have those resolution to approve those contracts on the agenda tonight. And one of the issues that was raised during contract development is that the number of surf lessons is limited to 5 students by our ordinance. If you are a non-franchised surf lesson provider, you can have 5 students by ordinance. If you're a franchised surf camp, you can have more than 5 students. There is some language in the ordinance that says council can approve other commercial activities, and that's been utilized in the past to grant waivers to the number of students in a surf lesson. We're asking council to formalize that approval process so that in the future, when we have surf lessons who are distinguished by the number of students in the ordinance, come before council to give us a cleaner mechanism to approve those. And so I'd like to just, there's no action on this tonight, there are no votes on it tonight. We do want to just review with council some possible options we could take to formalize that process. We could, and all of these involve either amending the ordinance or going out to bid. One option is that if we want to have another surf camp sized operation, we bid it out as a surf camp and we just treat it like a surf camp franchise. If we're giving someone 20 students and that's a surf camp number, we can treat it as a surf camp. If we want to keep it as a surf lesson at a lower threshold of students that's not 5, we could choose a number, we could amend the ordinance, and we could say any surf lesson provider can have up to X students. 6, 10, 20, 25, a number. So that's blanket, every year someone can apply for those. Or we could amend the ordinance to allow council to set individual numbers of students based on some criteria, such as the number of CPR certified instructors, distance to another approved surf lesson or surf camp provider. Some things to give council guidance so that when a surf lesson provider comes up during the annual non-franchise approvals and says, I would like more than 5 students, council can say, okay, how many teachers do you have? Where are you located on the beach? What are your safety protocols? And they can use that to base an individual number rather than, just like we did with the rates. There's a fixed number in the ordinance. It would essentially be letting council float that number by resolution. So there's no action tonight, but we do want to come back next month with something for you guys to vote on. So I'd love to hear if anybody feels strongly, or even there's an option that I didn't describe. If anybody has some guidance on what you'd like to see next month.
I prefer adding the franchise. Everything's spelled out in the franchise, and I think it's fair to the franchise people to not allow a surf camp to operate at a much less cost and have the same benefit.
I think that if you have the flexibility of a resolution, however, you can adjust the volume of the students if you need to, and you're not going through that concrete franchise with no flexibility. I prefer having a little flexibility.
I like what Skip just brought up. I've been a big supporter of number 2.
I like the flexibility as well. I think the allow council to waive or set the number of students based on certain criteria.
I think the franchise just gives us the cleanest path forward, as opposed to piecemealing. I don't wanna have to go back and retweak this every year. I think by franchising it, it just sets us on a better path for the future.
But isn't that leaving us kind of one size fits all? You know, that's the downside of that.
They could still be a surf lesson, which was their.
Well, but if you're limiting the number of surf lessons in a surf camp, the number of students, you're able to tailor it to what the beach can handle, who's adjacent to it at the beach, what are the experiences of the surf camp operators.
But that does require us to make adjustments for almost every surf lesson.
Yeah, but it's not gonna have to happen every year, I don't think, Mr. Mayor. Maybe if everybody complains about it, you do, but it gives flexibility to the council too.
Optionality.
functionality. Eva Guamas. Catherine, what do you think? I mean, what are your thoughts? Should,
Me?
yeah, anybody down there got a thought about
I
something?
could go all day, but I would stop.
I agree with the franchise.
Okay, so,
Okay.
Guess where you're at.
okay. You know, there's something to say sort of inheriting a history, how we've done our best practices, how we're operated. And then there's also getting to the place where we might be doing things differently. So honestly, the way that I look at this is that we need to have a certain amount of flexibility to eventually, the good news on Folly is, yeah, probably a franchise. But are we there yet? So of the opinion, even though I sort of have a dilemma, because I know where I wanna be, and I know where we are. So I would like the flexibility, and have the city have a bit more say in that. But again, also, I think it's because I've learned from the history, moving forward. That's fair.
All right, so there's no action tonight. We do have a personal appearance tonight. AJ wants to come and ask between students. So we are asking you guys to not grant that waiver tonight through a personal appearance so that we can get this option prepared. So we'll bring you guys back some language next month for you to consider. Next, we have the franchise contract review. So also on the ordinance tonight, Chapter 118 says council approves franchises, but it also has specific language that asks you guys to vote to approve the contracts. So we sent those out to everyone. We drafted them, we copy pasted basically the ordinance language into the contracts, sent them to the vendors for feedback, and now they're up for you guys to approve. So the contracts themselves, step by step through the ordinance, they govern the number of vehicles on the beach, how the vehicles can access the beach, the number of tents, the number of signs, the items that can be rented. Basically, it is the ordinance in contract form. So if you guys don't have any questions about the actual contracts as they are, I do have some discussion topics that were raised during that review of the contracts, back and forth with the vendors. And this is just for your consideration. These things don't exist in the ordinance now. So I could not write them into the contracts. We would have to amend the ordinance in order to amend the contracts. And if we did amend the ordinance, we could then amend the contracts. One is allowing additional vehicles on the beach. For your consideration, right now, the ordinance says no more than 2 vehicles by a vendor in any one section at one time. And the proposal is up to 3 vehicles, but with strict operating hours. That only up to 3 vehicles could just basically be used in the morning and at the night. So no more than 2 vehicles through the day, up to 3 vehicles in any one section in the morning and in the evening. So that's one. Another one is the beach loungers in section 1 west, and this one is vendor and section specific. The prior vendor for section 1 west had wooden loungers on the beach. The ordinance required everything to be removed overnight, but when we did the ordinance amendments, council specifically accepted the wooden lounger, and that wooden term is key, wooden loungers in section 1. That's how the ordinance is written, wooden loungers. So the new vendor would also like consideration for overnight loungers on the beach, but not necessarily wooden loungers.
Do you have any idea? Are we talking about these as you go through them?
Oh, we can, or
Would you have any idea what that was? Because when we had to do it, when we did it last time, it was because we had to get the stuff off the beach because the Army Corps with renourishment and all that stuff. And those wooden loungers were not really designed for that, but they were stable. They weren't blown around the wind. They didn't pose any kind of real threat. So we knew what we were getting into. With just taking that away, that opens up the possibility for anything. And that's not necessarily, I mean, if they're gonna be a cheap plastic chair, they're just gonna blow down the beach overnight. Then you're gonna spend half your time chasing chairs down, you know what I mean? I get it, I understand the feeling, but I think we would need more information from the vendor before, what would we just give blanket permission to put anything out overnight?
Well, the vendor happens to be here. Wendy, do you want to address the loungers?
We
Do you-
just, as we were doing our research, found comparable items that are heavy but using resin instead of wood, that last longer, that doesn't require the same maintenance and upkeep.
I think the weight's the biggest factor, like you're saying.
So is there a way to, I mean, why would we identify the actual material? Why don't we use a word that's stability or
Those were the types of loungers that were on the beach that the previous vendor used.
resin?
No,
No.
wouldn't.
No, no, I know that, I mean, I know why this is no longer applicable. What I'm saying is, why would we not find language that isn't based in material, but more in the goal to have it be permanent?
But I think there would also need to be some sort of, especially since we don't know exactly what we're looking at, there need to be some sort of stipulation there, like if they become a problem or a hazard or anything, the city has the right to take that away. Just because if people complain, they're blowing, anything happens, I mean, you know, there's any kind of, all kind of possibilities out there.
Well, I think
We'd have to put
the
some
turtle
kind of safety
is
clause in
already
there.
anyway. The turtle interactions are optimal.
That was another one that came up last time as well.
All right, so is it accurate that I'm getting the gist that for that one, you guys would be open to considering future language related to the type of loungers allowable in section 1?
With clarity, sure.
All right.
It wasn't too long ago, we got a note from the turtle team asking us to not allow any out there. So I wonder if there's any kind of turtle-friendly versions of your resin chairs. 'Cause I know it's gonna be an issue because it came up not
Yeah, I
more
remember
than
we
60
had
days ago.
We had pictures of turtles underneath lounge
Right.
chairs, I mean, so that happens.
I know it'll come up, if Dave's not here tonight, he'll be here next time, I guess, when we start talking about leaving chairs out. But it makes very little difference to me if it's a resin chair or a wood chair, so.
All right, and then you want to just jump back to additional vehicles on the beach?
Yes.
I think if you leave it at 2, we did all that work on it, we came down to 2. I don't see why we just up it because somebody asked us.
We did spend a lot of time on it.
We spent a lot of time on that.
I guess I was just curious, is it an idea where it's like an hour in the morning, an hour in the afternoon?
It was early morning hours and evening pickup hours.
Yeah, we spent.
And we were, to be honest with you, we were lucky to get the ATVs that we have in there, so I don't think we need to push it.
Any other thoughts?
Because that was a contention point.
All right, next up is define the limits of section 1. The ordinance, the language says area between 3rd West and 3rd East. It does not specifically define the area between 3rd West and 3rd East. I interpreted that when writing the contract as 3rd Street East and 3rd Street West. Just want to clarify council's intent, that if the boundaries of 3rd East and 3rd West are 3rd Street East to 3rd Street West, or 3rd Block West to 3rd Block East.
We traditionally always call 3rd to 3rd as the safety zone, is 3rd Street, not Block. Even the maps show the family zone cutting off at 3rd.
3rd Street.
3rd Street.
At the street.
And if there was any appetite to extend it to the 3rd Block, but it sounds like there
That's,
is.
Well, if we did, so it would be, rather than between, it would be through, and it would extend it.
For west of Third
Yeah.
East and east of Third West.
Yeah,
Be specific.
yeah. And we, in the past, just for my education, decided that going beyond that, there potentially was safety issues or like that.
Just the family, call that like the family section of the beach, we always kind of kept that.
Past
as
that?
In that, the 3rd to 3rd is where the family, because there's the bathrooms, parking. So that was the family part, and as you get outliers, that's where like party people go, or family, things, not family, other things.
And so the franchises don't really need to
And
have access.
when the franchises first started, there was a lot of blowback about over commercializing the beach. So you want to keep it spread out and limited. That was,
Okay.
15 years ago.
And then, all right,
Aaron, will we put some language in to clarify
yeah,
that?
I think we need to.
So we don't have this conversation again next year.
And then, the last topic is whether or not there needs to be, or should there be an operation, is there an implied, requirement to operate? So if a vendor has been awarded a franchise for a section but chooses not to operate, is that something that the city has an opinion on? Once we award them, do we need to require them to operate or not?
I would, and then, they could transfer with council approval, but council could take it away for non-operations. I mean, we put them out there for, the benefit, we kept the commercialism very limited, but we applied services that our visitors asked for. We want them to work.
It's also a revenue generation issue too.
Yes.
I mean, we awarded it in good faith that it would be utilized.
Yeah.
And I don't think it'd be that difficult to figure out, I mean, they could work with Stacy and you'd figure out, is it, are they getting revenue, it would really be easy to monitor, wouldn't it?
Yeah, use it or lose it.
All right.
Because it's business license revenue.
Oh, okay. I'm like,
Yeah.
okay.
I mean, I'm already on to the next.
He's now on beach patrol.
No, as far as monitoring, in the sense of there'd be a way to quantify, right away, that this wasn't somebody that maybe wanted to do it once they got into it, or didn't have the revenue to generate for supplies, so I think that's really reasonable. I did have a question though, can you, subcontract?
Yeah, so that's the second part of the
Okay.
question. Is the ordinance says that franchise agreements cannot be sold or signed to another vendor.
So it'd go back out for bid again, I guess.
There's no clarity on what constitutes assigning your franchise to another vendor. If two vendors were to partner and one vendor subcontracted for the other, is that assigning his or her franchise or transferring it?
I think anything like that would just have to come, we approve the franchises as they were, we would have to approve any alteration to that.
Agreed.
I mean, they leave the possibility out there, but it's never happened. So it's not gonna be like an every year thing, it's gonna be a once in a blue moon thing. So if they wanna do something like that, we just have to approve that or put stipulations on it, just.
Approve the subcontract.
Yeah.
Yes.
All right. So, I think that's a very good process question. We do have these contracts as written per the ordinance today, which I think if they are approved, this won't be affected. These would be further, we have to amend the contracts after we amend the ordinance, which is, we have the right to do that. But I'm sure I'll get with you to figure out how we enact these things. But especially
Is there already language that a vendor can, that a franchisee can just walk away and cancel the contract? So that's kind of the answer. I mean, we could just add
it's
some.
either one of us can.
Hmm?
Either party can. These don't start
Yeah.
until May, so we
The
have.
point being, if they don't like a change in the law, they can walk away. We can add that language, but
All right,
it's
so
kind of built in. You see what I mean?
so we'll be back to you guys next month for some sort of formal clarification of beach loungers, the Third Street, Third East West, but then also like a definition of what counts as transferring and signing the franchise and an operating requirement.
So we can pass the resolution tonight and be fine, because we're just gonna rework the contract.
And last but not least, broaden it to all instances here, franchise storage on public property. The short history of it is that we have two private storage areas located on public property that were, through a series of events sanctioned by the city at the time of installation. We have a shed at Second Street East, which we do not own. A private third party paid for that shed, and we allowed them to put it on Second Street East. And the shed was used to support the franchise in front of it. And then we have a storage space that was filled in underneath the Third Street West walkover, underneath the handicap walkover, to allow a franchisee, a nonprofit partner, to do some storage there. We need to formalize the ownership and control of those spaces. And so we're going to enter into conversations with the owners of those private storage areas negotiate terms, who owns them, what's the rate, what's the manner of that, and we'll come back to you guys next month, with some proposed solutions. There's nothing to vote on tonight, there's nothing formal being proposed tonight, but specifically for the shed at the shed at Second Street East, we know that folks who built it would like to maintain control of it and maintain use of it. The folks who were given the beach franchise on Section 1 East would like to also have it, would also control it. So there's interest from multiple parties in getting it, but before we can give it to anybody else, we have to own it. So we're gonna work on some sort of purchase agreement, and then come back to you guys for options on what to do with our new property. For Third Street West, it's kind of the same thing. We've gotta talk to these guys. What's your sunk cost in this? How can we make you whole so that we can formally control the space? I don't think we wanna go in and remove the space. And then once we formally control it, how do we document and memorialize your use of the space and any associated cost? I'm not saying there is a cost. I don't know what that's gonna look like, but we just have to get formal ownership and control of those spaces. So that's that'll be next month.
Good. All right, no more discussion? All right, back at 7.